broads in Atlanta. Just to lean the family. Credit cards.
So good day, I am Shala V. Pacaldo and I will be discussing the miscellaneous provision under the Custom Memorandum Order number 22-2010. So the first section in miscellaneous provisions is the section 20, entitled the Certificate for Quarantine Cargo. So when cargo manifested for any port in the Philippines is retained on board, so the importing vessel by order of the quarantine officer or any other officer authorized to issue such order. So the custom inspector on board, after verifying said cargo, shall make a certificate of constructive leading as the bill of lading. So the next section is section 21, entitled the use of boarding watercrafts. So the custom senior boarding officer shall not permit anyone to go with the custom boarding watercraft upon departure from the pier except custom inspector and custom guard duly assigned to vessel to be boarded. Custom inspector and custom guard assigned by the ship Bay Service Section to substitute for absent personnel and those especially granted in writing by the ship, Piers and Inspection Division may be given the privilege to use the boarding watercraft. So the next section is section 22, the baggage declaration entry. So baggage declaration properly accomplished by incoming passenger shall be presented to the custom inspector on board or to custom examiner or appraiser upon boarding of the vessel. It is required that itemized enumeration thereon of the article obtained abroad showing quantity and the corresponding invoice price should be made in the baggage declaration. Articles, wares, goods, merchandise, and any other cargo acquired abroad not so declared shall be liable to seizure and subject to the penalties to the custom law. So the next section is section 23, vessel clearing for foreign ports applying for bunkers. So the custom inspector on board of a vessel clearing for foreign ports and applying for bunker shall require the master thereof to transmit together with his application the usual affidavit containing the following. So the first is the name and nationality of vessel, the amount of fuel, oil available on board for its propulsion at time of entry. The next is vessel daily consumption of oil at sea. The fourth one is vessel daily consumption of oil in port. The fifth one is the port or ports of call during the voyage and duration of vessel stay at each port. And lastly, the amount of bunkers applied for. So the next section is section 24, unloading of cargo by distressed vessel. So a distressed vessel in port desiring to unload cargo for the duration of the vessel sojourn thereat may be issued a permit to discharge her cargo upon written request of the master or agent, approved by the collector of custom under such items and condition he may deem proper. So if the cargo's discharge will be cleared or entered in the port where they are discharged, so the unloading of this class of cargo shall be subject to the subject rules and regulation prescribed for cargoes destined for the port. Unless authorized by a shipside discharge permit, such cargo shall be discharged onto the pier. So if discharged into lighter, such lighter must be of the closed type and must be secured, locked, and sealed with custom seal and must remain under guard until final disposition thereof is made. So the next section is section 25, the ship's meal. So the ship's meal is be examined as they are being taken from the ship, and all meals addressed to person other than agent of the vessel shall be delivered to the meal clerk. Any dutiable articles or merchandise other than meal found in the meal bag shall be subject to duties and taxes or seizures. So the next section is section 26, the laborers and ship's laundry. So the all stevedores, laborers, and other person of similar status shall be thoroughly searched by or under the immediate supervision of, so the custom inspector on board upon their leaving the vessel, and any such person found with Pilfered articles or those not authorized for discharge in his person shall be arrested. So for bundles of clothing, ships, lining, or laundry, and etc., which are to be taken ashore for laundering, a list shall be prepared by the inspector, who shall check them against such list upon their return on board, so that the corresponding duties and or taxes may be assessed and collected on those unaccounted for before the vessel sails. So the next section is section 27, is all about the seizures. So the custom inspector of custom guard making seizure shall deliver to the owner or the claimant, and if unclaimed, to the master of the vessel a receipt describing the article seized. He shall forward immediately the article seized together with the seizure report and transfer note to the ship, Pierce and Inspection Division. So, in section 28 is all about the arrest. So, upon searching a vessel or any person on board thereof, so the custom inspector or custom guard on board is authorized and required to search, arrest, and even detain conformably with law any person found committing act or acts contrary to law. When a person is apprehended under such circumstances, so the custom inspector on board shall conduct an informal investigation after termination whereof. So the person arrested together with the evidence shall be turned over to the Enforcement and Security Service or ESS for appropriate action. So a report in detail showing the name of the person arrested, the reason for the arrest, and the action taken shall be submitted without delay to the Ship, Pierce, and Inspection Division. The next section is the section 29. It's all about the small boats alongside vessel. So small boats authorized by the PPA to engage in ferry services may be permitted to come alongside the vessel. A custom guard shall be stationed at all times while a small boat, launch, or any watercraft is alongside, and it shall be thoroughly searched before being permitted to depart. So the next section is section 30, the custom guard for vessel lying alongside. So a custom guard shall be detailed by the custom inspector on board of a vessel when another vessel is lying alongside, whose duty shall be to see that no contraband articles or merchandise is passed from one vessel to another. So this duty shall be arranged in rotation so that the vessel will be under continuous surveillance until its departure. So the next section is section 31, the heaving anchor and sail. So upon receipt of a notice of clearance, the custom inspector on board shall allow the vessel to heave anchor and sail. But if, for any reason, the ship does not leave and remain in port for more than 48 hours after the time of departure indicated in the clearance, so the master or agent shall be required to secure from the custom clearance officer an extension of time or departure, without which the original clearance shall be of no force or effect. So the next section is section 32, the repair of vessel equipment. So upon the failing of band or underguard, so the guaranteeing the re-exportation and approved by the collector of custom, the landing of seals, casks, chronometers, and other portion of the vessel equipment for the purpose of having them repaired shall be permitted. So the custom inspector shall be describe the articles or equipment so released in sufficient detail to enable easy and ready identification upon the return. So the next section is section 33, the conversion of vessel status. So in A, from foreign to coastwide, so the vessel of foreign status may be converted to a coastwide status after the following requirements are fully complied with and submitted to the collector of custom through the custom clearance officer as prerequisite to the issuance of clearance. So the first one is the certification from the concerned office of the Bureau that import and trade had been filed and duties and taxes had been paid and or secured to be paid. So the second one is the certification of conversion issued by the Maritime Industry Authority. So the third one is the certification from the Ship Pierce and Inspection Division and Ship Base Service Section with the Enforcement and Security Service or ESS as member of the searching team that the vessel had been fully searched for contraband cargoes indicating therein the result of the searching mission. So the third one is the certification from the shipping agency attested by the custom inspector on board that all foreign cargoes are fully discharged from vessel. And lastly, the fifth one is inventory list of ship stores and saloon and crew declaration list shall be duly accomplished, signed by the master of the vessel and attested by the custom inspector on board. So such vessel shall be subject to continuous underguarding until final clearance is issued by the Office of Deputy Collector for operation. So in letter B, so from coastwide to foreign. So vessel of coastwide status may be converted to a foreign status subject to the following requirement. So first is the certification of conversion issued by the Maritime Industry Authority, and the second one is duly processed export declaration or permits. So the next section is section 34, the letters to collector. So the customs senior boarding officer shall collect all letters in the vessel position addressed to the collector of custom and transmit them without delay to the custom house. So the next section is section 35, refuse and garbage. So no refuse, garbage, and the like shall be thrown or jettisoned inside any harbor, more especially when the ship is alongside pier. So all damaged and routine cargoes shall be disposed of upon arrangement and permission of the collector of custom and the area designated by said official or duly authorized representative after consultation with the Philippine Coast Guard and or the Department of Environment and Natural Resources or DENR. So master of vessel desiring to load or discharge ballast shall first obtain permission from the collector of custom or surveyor of the port and shall obey the instruction given them by the harbor master as to where the ballast shall be taken from or discharged as the case may be. So the next section is section 36, the firearms, care, and use. So care shall be exercised in the use of firearms. So the unnecessary display of firearms is prohibited. An employee should remember that the law will hold him personally responsible for the result of the use of firearms by him. A weapon shall not be drawn or used except in self-defense or to prevent the commission of felony, while it is not intended that an officer or employee should jeopardize his own life or the life of an associate when danger threatens. It is intended that extreme caution and cool deliberation control his action. So, officer and employee should not be permitted to carry firearms while on duty until they have been thoroughly instructed in the proper care and use of such weapon. So, all firearms will be inspected by the Ship, Pierce and Inspection Division periodically to see that they are kept in condition for proper use. So the next section is section 37, the instruction relative to discharging, withdrawal, and loading of empty container. So the first is the discharging of empty containers. So the shipping agent prior to discharge of empty container shall furnish the Custom Container Control Division. So a copy of the approved sequence of discharge and a separate listing of empty containers to be discharged from the carrying vessel to monitoring and aging purposes. So the second one is the withdrawal of empty container. So the shipping agent concerned shall present a letter request to the Ship Custom Container Control Division for withdrawal of empty container from the pier once approved. So the Deputy Collector for Operation, the Ship Enforcement Security Service or ESS, and the Ship Pierce and Inspection Division shall be furnished copy of the request and the permit to withdraw issued. So the original copy of the approved request with the withdrawal permit shall be forwarded to the wharfinger in charge for the issuance of the gate pass. So the custom gatekeepers and custom or ESS personnel assigned at the exit gate shall be required to open all empty containers to verify whether they are indeed empty and shall keep records to the approved request or permit issued and report any discrepancy to the respective ships of offices. So the third one is the loading of empty container. So prior to the loading of empty container on board carrying vessel, the shipping agent concerned shall apply for a special permit to load in a letter application made for that purpose at the Custom Container Control Division. So it shall be the responsibility of the Custom Container Control Division to physically inspect every empty container brought into unloaded onto the port and verify if indeed the same is empty as represented by the concerned parties. So no further inspection of empty container for which an authority to load has already been approved shall be required during loading of the same, except when otherwise directed in writing by the District Collector of Custom, the Commissioner of Custom, of their duly authorized representatives. So next is Section 38, the instruction relative to the withdrawal of shout-out containerized export. So first one is the withdrawal of shout-out containerized export cargoes. So all of the application for the withdrawal of shout-out containerized export cargo shall be directly filled with the ship CCCD or its equivalent office. So spot checking of the contents of the subject container shall no longer be required, but instead the following precautionary measure shall be undertaken. So in the application to withdrawal shout-out containerized export cargo shall be accompanied at all times by the following. So the first one is the certification of the shipping agent concerned attesting to such fact. The second one is an equipment interchange receipt or EIR, and lastly a copy of export declaration permit or inquiry. So the B is the spot checking shall be confined only to determine whether the original shipping agent shall affix after the staffing operation is intact. The letter C is in case the containerized export cargo are deliveries from a CBW, which fact shall be indicated in the application. So the same shall not be withdrawn unless accompanied by the custom guard, who shall guard the same until the shipment is received by the assigned custom warehouseman or custom storekeeper at the CBW. For this purpose, so the ship Custom Container Control Division shall be coordinate with the Ship Bonded Warehouse Operating Division concerned the undergoing requirements. So the next section is the shifting of cargoes. So shipping agent shall submit a written request for shifting of cargoes to the office of the Ship Repairs and Inspection Division, which in turn shall recommend the approval to the Deputy Collector for operations. So Section 40 is deveining, stripping, and stuffing. So again, if we say deveining is a transfer of cargo from one container to another container. And if we say stripping, so unloading of all goods or cargo from a container. And we say stuffing, it is a filling a container with goods or cargoes. So a consignee shall submit a written request for deveining, stripping, and stuffing to the office of the Ship Repairs and Inspection Division. So which in turn shall recommend its approval to the Deputy Collector for operations. So the next section is Section 41, the direct-to-truck transfer. So for direct truck transfer of container or cargo from vessel to truck, consignee or custom broker shall submit a written request to the office of the Ship Repairs and Inspection Division, so which in turn shall recommend the approval to the Deputy Collector for operations. So the section 42 is all about the overtime permit. So all requests for overtime work by Pierce and Inspection Division personnel other than those regular activity mentioned in the manual shall be recommended by the Ship, Pierce and Inspection Division and approved by the Deputy Collector for operations. So the next section is section 43, the discharging of vessel sludge. So all requests for discharging of vessel sludge shall be recommended by the Ship, Pierce and Inspection Division and approved by the Deputy Collector for operation. So sample of sludge shall be taken by the Custom Examiner from Formal Entry Division for examination purposes. So the next section is section 44, the bunkering permit. So all requests for vessel bunkering or refueling shall be recommended for approval by the Ship, Pierce and Inspection Division to the Ship Port Operations Service or AOCG. Next is the section 45, the leisure or racing yacht. So, the boarding of formalities shall, as far as practicable, apply to leisure crafts, yachts, foreign fishing vessel, and local fishing vessel from abroad. This provision shall include all vessels arriving in the country that are participants of the regattas or similar competition. So, during boarding formalities, the master or owner of the yacht and other similar vessels shall manifest or state in an intention or purpose of this journey in the Philippines. So he must indicate if its voyage is pleasurable or indicate intended period of stay in the Philippines. So conversion from foreign to coastwide, payment of duties and taxes, or conduct of business in the Philippines. So that's all for the miscellaneous provision under Custom Memorandum Order number 22-2010. So now in this part, we will be seeing a visual picture of what are the permits and clearances actually look like. Now we have the general permit on the left side, and other right side, we have the clearance to a foreign port. So moving on, we also have the inspector or certificate of last cargo discharge and the pier or shipside discharge and report. So take a look at this example, of course, and we have the container discharging report, name of the loader, of course. And lastly, we have the oath of entering vessel from a foreign port. Basically, these are the documents permits. So now I will be discussing the harbor regulation related to custom under Custom Memorandum Order number 22-2010. So, letter A is the vessel entering port. So, all vessel entering any port of entry or coastwide in the Philippines shall show their colors and signal their official number or letters, and such signal shall be kept flying till the vessel is boarded by the proper official. So, all vessels within 2 miles before arriving at designated quarantine anchorage shall display their aforementioned signal. So, when mail is to be discharged, the vessel shall inform the port authorities by the prescribed signal at the earliest opportunity. So, in the flag signal or calls, at the Philippine ports of entry signal will be responded to and from the custom house or pilot signal tower. So the following signal or calls shall be used in all ports or entry. So in the custom, so the signal or calls is the international code flags E and C at night, 3 or 4 short blast of whistle and ribbing of a light. In a quarantine, so the signal or calls is international code flag Q at the 4. And in a pilot, so the signal or calls is international code flag G or PT at night. So there are 3, the cyrotonic light, commonly known as the blue light, every 15 minutes, and the second one is a bright white light, flash or shown at short frequent intervals, shall just above the hull for about a minute at a time. Then lastly, the international code signal P and T by flashing light. So in explosives or inflammables, so their signal or calls is international code flag B at the fore. And in medical assistant, so the signal or calls is international code flag or customs call. So in the contagious or infection disease, so the signal or calls is international code flags E, Z, Q. If there is a death, custom and quarantine calls are international code flags E and L. So distress by day and international code flag N, C or gun or other explosive signal fired or at intervals or about a minute, or the distress signal consisting of a square flag having either above or below it a ball or anything resembling a ball at night. So the first one is a gun or other explosive signal fire at intervals or about a minute. The second one is the flames of the vessel as from burning tar, barrel oil, and etc. And lastly is the rockets or shells throwing star of any color or description fired at a time at short intervals. So in the male, so the signal or calls is international code flag Y, and the water boat is their signal or calls is international code flag R, C, Q or F, U. So in the PID or to ESS, so their signal or calls is custom call. And the harbor master, so the signal or calls is the international code flag G, Y, T. And lastly, the monivering is their calls and signal is international code flag D at night. So those are the signal or calls in the Philippine Custom Port. So next is the quarantine requirements. So death, illness, or accident involving physical to any person on board a vessel in a harbor shall be at once reported to the collector of custom and the quarantine officer. So in the repair or dry docking of vessel, so no repairs except minor ones shall be allowed on any vessel in a port without the permission of the collector of custom or the deputy collector for operation, as well as its transfer to designated place of dry docking, and shall be subject to continuous underguarding until final clearance. So for dry docking, so the following documents are required. So the first one is the searching and inventory report. The second one is the approval from the office of the deputy collector for operations. Then the third one is the certification from contractor, so the scope of work and the duration of repair. So in the sunken vessel, so whenever the navigation of any harbor or navigable river tributary thereto shall be obstructed by any sunken vessel, boat, watercrafts, or other several obstruction has existed for a period longer than 30 days, or whenever abandonment can be established in a least space of time. So the sunken vessel, boat, watercrafts, or other obstruction may be broken up, removed, sold, or otherwise disposed by the collector of custom in his declaration at the expenses of the owner, provided, however, that if navigation of a waterway is prevented or seriously endangered by any obstruction, the collector of custom may cause its removal immediately and before the expiration of 30 days at the expense of the owner thereof. So the next one is the lighters or tags and other watercraft. So lighters shall not be tied nor removed from alongside a vessel without permission of the custom inspector on board such vessel. So in the police authority performed by custom officer, so the first one is the custom officer have the power to arrest within harbor limits person violating the custom, immigration, and navigation laws and regulation and person committing crimes or breaches of the peace Such arrests shall be reported without delay to their superior officer. So the second one is any person who assaults, resists, opposes, or interferes in any manners with a custom officer in the discharge of his duty shall be liable and subject to the penalty prescribed by law. So in the rat guards, so when any vessel either a foreign or Philippine registry is at any dock, pier, wharf, quay, or bullhead, such vessel shall take proper precaution to prevent the passage of bidons to or from the vessel. So the vessel shall be fended off from the pier, wharf, and quay, bulkhead, or dock not less than 6 feet and acceptable rat guards as prescribed shall be fixed on all connecting lines, and in addition all cargo nets, chutes, and similar devices extended between the vessel and shore structure shall be removed at night unless in actual use, and shall all gangways and ladders unless guarded or properly lighted. So the second one is the master of any vessel of foreign registry of Philippine registry engaged in foreign trade, whether lying alongside a pier, dock, quay, wharf, or bulkhead, or any stream, shall have the suitable rat guard placed on all lines between idle lighters or small boats or other carriers and the vessel, which must be fastened that the guard will remain at right angles to and tied on the line. So the third one is no cargo shall be discharged from or received on board a vessel lying alongside a pier, wharf, quay, dock, or bulkhead, or in the stream before suitable rat guard have been placed on all the lines leading from the carriers to the vessel and from the vessel to the pier, wharf, quay, dock, or bulkhead, except in the case of coastwise vessel handling coastwise cargo to or from barge, lighters, or other carriers, or from barge, lighters, or other carriers when he rat guards requirements on line between vessel and carrier may be dispensed with. So other special anchorage. So likewise, all other boats and watercrafts are prohibited to anchor or to linger around any vessel, whether moored at a pier or anchored in the harbor at a distance of less than 50 meters from said vessel unless especially authorized by the collector of customs. So in the specific regulation, no empty lighters or carrier shall lie at night alongside a Philippine government pier or alongside a vessel moored thereto, nor shall empty lighters or carrier be attached to such pier or vessel by cables or ropes, or attached to loaded or partly loaded carriers which may be alongside or fastened to such pier or vessel. So the second one is the empty lighters or carriers alongside or attached to such pier or vessel during daytime shall be removed therefrom before nightfall. So the third one is the provision contained in paragraph 1 and 2 above hereof shall not apply to carriers partially laden with import or export cargo. So the empty carriers which may have been prepared or which are preparing to receive cargo from a pier or vessel when delivery from a pier or discharge of a vessel during nighttime has been duly authorized. So lastly, on this specific regulation is that any vessel or other watercrafts in the Philippine harbor shall, when a case of sickness occurs on board, immediately hoist the regulation quarantine flag, yellow, and keep the same flying until the boarded and passed upon by an inspector of the quarantine bureau. So the flag shall be of sufficient size and so placed as to be plainly visible. So that's all for the harbor regulation related to COSTA under COSTA Memorandum Order number 22 to 2010.